What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 54th episode of the Boundless Business Podcast. As always, it's Nico, Larissa, and Justine team. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. How are we doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Justine's thriving, freezing.
Yeah.
We're enjoying our nice little Arizona winter over here, so no complaints.
Right. If we complain, Justine will not be happy. So we are going to move on really quickly from the awesome weather. Justine, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about the process from when you get a lead and you give them an estimate of your services, how to take that and get to the closing of the deal. So what does that process kind of look like, and get really tactical with it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been really focused on a new brand within Boundless, the Landscaper Marketing Pro, because honestly, it is very exciting that we're seeing there's a huge opportunity for landscapers. So launch this other brand, and we've been testing a lot of things. But the biggest thing that we've noticed across the board, right, is once you get a lead, right, whatever you, and we'll go through a process in a second, whatever you define as a lead, what do you do to get them to the mid step, right? Usually consultation, estimate, like whatever that is, then proposal, then close. So marketing doesn't really, I mean, technically, like that's when sales should begin. But for small businesses like ours and the people we work with, marketing sales intermix. So this is going to be a half marketing, half sales conversation, basically saying, once you get a lead, what do you do with them? So any questions before I kind of go into the mechanics behind it?
At what point does the marketing, let's say, stop and more the sales begins?
Yeah, so it really is it's a phenomenal question. And like I said, we define it a little differently. It's like marketing technically stops when a lead is generated, right? Now, marketing is reactivated when a lead is you try to contact the lead back and forth and you finally like you can't get a hold of them. That's when marketing and retargeting of marketing really comes into play. So to Larissa's point, let's say that you're running a specific ad campaign, you get a lead, first name, last name, email, phone number. What then happens? Well, then it goes directly into the sales process, right? You want to get the salesperson or the person actually fielding the calls connected with that individual as soon as possible. Anything past 5 minutes, once a lead is submitted or someone says yes, so you're doing outbound, when someone says yes, you have a 5 minute window where you're still top of mind before you drop off. Okay. So, I mean, it's the numbers look crazy, right? I mean, you're going from like 60, 70%, like people will respond to like 10, 15% within that 5 minutes, right? So you want to move really quickly. Contact them at least twice, but more preferably like at least 4 times on that very first day. So let's say that organically, right? You reach out to someone, they say, yeah, tell me more. You want to get them on the call as soon as possible. Say they don't answer the first time, send a text message or email, right? And then 2 to 3 hours later, call them again. Now, there's different schools of thought. My my school of thought is you're never going to be more interested than right now. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, but the peak interest is going down as soon as they submit that, right? And you want to repeat that process at least 4 touch points, 3 or 4 touch points over the next 5 days. Because after that, then you want to put them into more of a long-term nurture, which is where marketing then comes back into play, right? But in that 5 day period, if you're calling them twice a day and texting them twice a day at least, right? My math isn't perfect, but that's 20 touch points. So
In what ways do you think it's best to contact them? So obviously you mentioned best to get them on a call, but is that the preferred way of contacting? What should really be, I guess, considered the goal?
the goal is a conversation, either through Zoom, Google Meets, or on the call, or in person if that's what your business is around. It's if basically the only goal is to get a conversation going. Like for landscapers specifically, um, if you're doing a turf install job, there's a logical reason to do it. Maybe there's rebates. Maybe you're tired of paying thousands of dollars in mowing and watering a year. But there's usually an emotional reason to do that as well. It's a big decision. It's a big purchase, right? Anything over like a couple $100, there's an emotional component to it. And usually through text or email or like LinkedIn messages, you can't convey that emotion. You can't feel that excitement, right? A great example is we got a lead in through Instagram. I'm not gonna say the company, but I'll tell you my exact conversation with him. So at 6 o'clock that night, he said, "Yes, I'm interested." I said, "Great, I'll call you at." I gave him a couple of times. He said 10 a.m. work. Called him 10 a.m. He didn't answer. I DM'd him, and I called again. Right. He finally picked up the second time. Great conversation. 40 minutes later, he's like, "I'm in." Send a proposal. Call him to go over the proposal later that day. Doesn't answer. Call the next day. Doesn't answer. Sends me a message saying he doesn't really like understand a certain point. Asks me a couple questions. Instantly, I call him again. The reason I do that so much is I usually the questions, the objectives that you're going to get are much more emotionally based than they are logically based. But people want to be heard, especially with us who do marketing. We're here to grow businesses. We're helping them get to a future state, right? This particular person was pretty bored in the mornings. His afternoons are packed, but in the mornings he was bored, right? So for me, like I could reference that back. I'm like, hey, listen, like you don't want to like wake up at 7 a.m. and not have any calls until like 1, right? Like that's not, or maybe it is. Maybe he's like, no, I don't want to do that. So I listed everything out logically, but I sold him on the emotional side on why you should do it now.
That makes sense. What are the kinds of like nurturing, like at what points do you nurture people to try to get them back into the funnel? Like when is a lead dead?
When they say no.
When they say, no, I'm not interested. If it's not like a, what if they're kind of like, like not right now, or now's not the best time, or no, but it's kind of like a soft no.
Then you need to dig into the objections, right? So like, let's just say that someone says now is not the right time. Most people take that at face value. What if you said, okay, when is the great time? Like next week, great. Friday or Tuesday? Neither. Okay. Well, it's only 7. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. I don't really want to talk to you. Oh, okay. So you're not interested in saving any money on a like new lawn or anything like that's not your objective today. Oh no, that's also not interested. Oh, okay. So you want to meet on Tuesday or Friday?
So there's like a hard no, a soft no. Soft no's, you should address the objections and ideally maybe try to find a time that works better. If maybe they're just not interested right now, it's important to understand that difference versus they're not interested at all. So being sure to kind of differentiate those. And then otherwise you have people who are going to be sort of in the process, and they're going to be in the process at any given point. You know, some will have, let's say, just filled out the form and maybe still in the process of getting scheduled, or some may just ghost overall. I mean, that's probably the other big scenario to keep in mind. And maybe you can give sort of an example of how to approach those is, what do you do with people who are just complete ghosts? Like they do nothing and they don't respond to anything, and you've been trying, let's say, for like a week. No response, no message, nothing.
Yeah, so super sneaky, call from a different phone number. So like I've done this before, like we get numbers for our clients who, like they call through that, but call from a different number. It sounds so simple, but I mean, that's sometimes like as simple as it is. But let's say that you can't do that strategy for whatever reason, right? I would continue. Again, I'm assuming that they haven't like given us their addresses or anything, right? Like we know nothing about them. I would start doing the unscalable, right? Like I would send them a video, like literally of you talking, like, "Hey Larissa, hey Justine, still super excited to give you that amazing offer, whatever the offer was. Just let me know if there's any questions. Boom, send it, right?" Again, these are like, could that fall on deaf ears? Sure, but again, after a week or so, after 2 weeks, you want to put them in long-term nurture. So start referencing, like, let's say you did a trial, right? Reference what the outcomes of someone who did take the trial. Or if you do something like landscaping, text them like before after pictures of that specific thing. If you're posting a lot on social, go add that person to your social media account. Let's say that it's probably easy to find someone on Instagram, right? Add them there and show the before after work, right? Just keep top of mind. So even if they're saying no right now, that's fine. Like, I mean, even if they're not like showing interest, like they say no, like, no, I'll never want this, then stop that. But,
What do you do in the instance that somebody filled out your form, but they filled it out with incorrect information? So all of the messages you're sending are sending to a number that is not theirs.
yeah, let's say like some for the I would still call that number, right? Or is the number not valid in that case?
I mean, if it's not valid, it'll just bounce, and then you don't really have anywhere to go. But
But
let's
just
say
someone put
in
in a
this
fake one.
scenario, yeah, somebody put in a phone number. It's someone's number. It's just not theirs.
Yeah. So I would still call them, right? And be like, hey, is this Justine? No, this is Luis. Oh, hey, Luis. We're actually running a promo, and this someone filled out the form and actually gave you a number. I apologize for that. With that being said, do you know anyone who's looking for, enter offer? Or you don't happen to be struggling with A?
I like it. I like it. Okay, that's a good way to approach it. Justine, do you have any other scenarios, I guess, to run through Nico through?
Yeah, I was kind of gonna ask, like, what are the common objections that people have, and kind of how you deal with those?
Yeah, so like it's hard because like the common objectives like for how we sell versus what our clients do are two different ones. But let's just say price is the biggest thing, right? Like they're like, they call and like that's way too expensive, right? Agree with them. Yeah, it's ridiculously expensive. It's crazy that we do 2 to 4 of these jobs every single week, right? So what did I do here? I agreed with them. Right? We all have had family dinners or Thanksgiving dinners where someone says something and you disagree with them and they dig in more, right? So first thing is like I always agree with them. Like, yeah, it's super freaking expensive, right? Then I anchor something else in there, authority. I'm like, yeah, that's and can you believe that 2 to 4 people like we do 2 to 4 of these jobs every single week? Like that's crazy, right? So now I'm anchoring that people like them do this, right? Plus, I threw in a little thing of like again agreeing with them. Then my goal is to like, because if it's a real price objection, then I want to figure out like why, because sometimes I can do things, right? So in this scenario,
What's
I
nice
agree
in the
with,
landscaper scenario is that there's a lot of like incentives and stuff you can kind of pull on, and depending on the industry you're in, we'll go ahead and use, artificial grass, which is, one of the main things we've been doing with these that we're walking through the scenario of. So understanding artificial grass and knowing that like there's every state and city has some type of incentive to reduce water usage or like landscaping and irrigation and things along those lines. That's a great way to, if somebody brings up, let's say, a cost objection, if there are any government regulations or programs or any just outside services you can even get to help with that. Some clients may offer financing, like there's a lot of different ways you can combat the like finance question. And that's always going to be the biggest one is like,
yeah.
This is too expensive, or I don't know how to pay for this, or whatever. That's where you can say, oh, well, it's actually made a lot more affordable because your city provides you a tax refund of $750, meaning it's $750 less on top of what we're offering. And that's just going to go straight into your tax refund. Like that goes straight to you, which is awesome. And then maybe your state has one that stacks on top of that. And then maybe, you can get X whatever from whoever. And it can be financed through whatever bank and will increase your home value and things like that. There's always ways to kind of pivot it to say like, this is worth it and here's why.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to be on a call with them because you can reference back to things you said earlier, right? So usually, like I tell everyone to ask why now, right? Because like truth be told, like you want to qualify them in the beginning. So like I'm going into this like conversation. They say they want to do it soon, right? Soon because summer's coming up and they spend a lot of money on water. Bring that up, like yeah. I mean, it's super crazy. We do 2 to 4 of these jobs, a week, which is mind-boggling, right? With that being said, I know that you're talking earlier that like you're just tired of like the like ugly grass and spending like thousands on water. Based on what you told me earlier, I mean, your break even is like 18 months. Like that's kind of crazy. And there's like a 15-year or 12-year, 10-year, 5-year warranty on this grass. I'm like, it pays for itself. So I'm curious, like, is it the fact that it's the money or how much upfront? Because then you can do it exactly what Larissa said. Like, because we have financing options and all that. I just want to make sure that this is the right thing for you. Because the problem is like objections are just questions disguised as negative phrases. That's all it is. I mean, too expensive. Okay, 100% agree. What about it is expensive? The upfront money makes sense, right? But A, B, C. Is it still too expensive? Yes. Okay. Well, would you want 0%? What if I 0% interest over 18 months? Oh, okay. Well, not bad. Right. Great. Let's move on. Again, it's a lot of this, candidly, is like just talking to people. Like the fact is, if someone's on a call with you and you've already like somewhat pre-qualified them that they want the thing and they're interested in getting it solved pretty soon, right? Because it's not a problem. Like as long as I have a problem that you can solve, then it's just logistics. This is something that I learned super long ago. If they're still like hesitant, usually it's a money thing. So just tell them, okay, 100%. What if I did it for free? Would you want to get that installed this week or next week? Oh, it's free. I can do it next week. Phenomenal. I wish I could do free, right? But I can get you close to free. So if you still want to do it next week. So
Yeah, now you see why Nico's the person who does all the sales for us. He's much better at it than I am.
I don't know if it's better, but it's just
You certainly invested the time in understanding a lot of those intricacies. Let's say if I give somebody an estimate and I'm just having a really hard time getting them to close, what should I have set up in the back end to make sure that I'm not necessarily losing those leads?
You gave an estimate, but they didn't say yes?
Yes.
Okay, so the problem with this is before you give an estimate. Okay, so Gym Launch does a really cool thing to get people to show up. They text them 2 hours before and they say, do you want a black shirt or a white shirt? This $2.50 shirt gets people in the door. And what do? We give something to someone. They want to give something back to us, right? So you have to figure out what is that thing that's going to move people to the next step. For us, our give is we'll give you 5 free leads. Nico's super nice. He's giving me 5 leads. That's amazing. That's awesome. He's giving me 4 blocks. And do a database record. He's giving me all this stuff. I should give him something, right? So like for your thing, like estimate consulting, like whatever that is, what are you giving? And if you can make it cheap or free, why not, right? Consultants can do this all the time, right? Like you have access to technology. Let's say that you do SEO, right? You can run an audit. It costs you nothing because you're already paying for the software. You give it to them. Like, hey, listen, I know this is a lot of work. For our proposal meeting, I'll actually prepare a whole audit. Usually we charge $500 for it, but I'll give that to you for free on our audit. So you're doing like turf, and that's what we're trying to figure out now is like, what can you give, right? Maybe there's another bonus that you have, or maybe again, everyone's different. I don't want to give our secret sauce open, but like, because we have something, but like, I don't, it's kind of not a DL because it's our secret sauce. But like, what can you give?
How do you handle things if maybe, you go through with the estimate, but it's just not really the right like project for you? What do you do with those leads that maybe aren't a good fit for you, but might be good for somebody else?
Sell them. That's the thing is like, some of the largest law firms in the world are just marketing firms. Like every city has a law firm, right? That they get all like they run a lot of media too. And honestly, like they pick their favorites, the best ones, the ones that they feel like they can make the most money, but they have a cap, right? So they sell those to other people. So like get your 10% referral fee by talking to other landscapers or like other companies in your niche that you can then sell that lead to. Definitely, like, I mean, make sure they're legit, they're going to pay you, get a contract, but like, why not, right?
Fair enough.
Do it, right? Like the only thing you now need to do is sign up for all our amazing social media sites like getbalancemedia.com on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all over the place. And you should also email me at nico@getbalancemedia.com if you have any questions. Hopefully this was entertaining. Biggest thing that I just want to have people walk away with is you can do this, and there's nothing really stopping you from taking these leads and closing them by investing the time. So if you have any questions, email me at nico@getbalancemedia.com. All the socials I said earlier. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.